Shifting Sandland is the next elemental theme stage in the game. It's kind of funny because due to the new and experimental designs of the stages in the Nintendo 64, it has many themes that are shared across most 2D and 3D games for that matter, but they sort of lack the Mushroom Kingdom charm that we're used to in other games. At least they do for me. There's a weird sense of realism in Mario 64 that makes it stand out a bit. I guess by realism I mean it's much less cartoony than the remaining Mario games. And I wonder if that was intentional as part of their transition to 3D, or if it just happened like that. Anyway, the reason I say that is because although we've had the grassland, snow level, water level, fire level, and now the sand level, they actually lack the typical Mario charm. They still have a charm, and we'll call it the Mario 64 charm. Like when you start off in the desert stage here, you get a weird tune that sounds like it would take place in an old western film if it was somehow filmed in Egypt. The same way you felt immersed in the snow, water, fire, and haunted stages, you feel completely immersed here in the desert. This is another fairly open sandbox too. Pun not intended. In that it doesn't really have a primary path that most people would follow like some of the earlier stages. There's a lot more going on here than the lava stage. You'll start off in what I'll refer to as the beginning area where you'll have to run around a large sand dune. There will be a concrete platform that you'll have to use some strategy to get on top of. You'll turn and see a tornado not too far ahead of you. On the ground you'll notice little quicksand tornadoes. If you get stuck in there you'll have to mash the jump button to get out. Towards the right you'll notice a minor maze with blocks flipping through it. The sand there is a different color and almost watery. That is an insta-kill hazard, so as you make your way around the maze-like platforms you have to be careful not to fall in. The blocks all have a single hollow side that won't crush you, so your puzzle is to find a way to stand in the right location when the block drops down and won't flatten Mario. If you make it past the maze, there will be an oasis and you'll be on the back of the pyramid. As I'm saying this out loud, it makes the stage actually seem like it has a main path, and that's because on foot it kind of does. But the players can also run up these vertical pillars and perform long jumps to land on the pyramid. And then they could try and use the pyramid to take shortcuts through the different areas of the desert. There's also a green surfing shell that you can grab that'll let you surf right over all the sinking sand and up the pyramid without having to use too many ramps to climb up, as well as a wing cap you can fly around with. My point is there are a lot of ways to get around, hence why the stage is fairly wide open. In any case, the first star is titled the Town of the Big Bird. As you run out of the beginning area, with enough speed you can actually run straight up the brick pillars, and you'll notice a buzzard flying around carrying a star. Basically, you'll need to wait for it to fly overhead and quickly attack it, making it drop the power star where it'll wait for you beyond the pyramid. So the first star itself will help you get acquainted with most of the stage and teach you about some of its more intricate details like the ability to climb the pillars. You'll also eventually learn that the buzzard can steal Mario's hat. You don't want that to happen, because if it steals Mario's hat, Mario will, well, he'll have no hat. And nobody wants Mario without a hat, that's just weird. In any case, star number 2 is titled Shining Atop the Pyramid. Find your preferred way to traverse up the pyramid, whether it's the wing cap or shell or more realistically on foot if you're someone that's not quite used to the layout of the stage yet. You might have to jump on an enemy's head that'll help you move up there too. Either way, the pyramid itself has a few platforms you can follow to get up there, but if you put a foot wrong you could easily slip off and before you know it you could be sucked down into the sinking sand and get a game over. Star number 3 is where the fun really starts. It's titled Inside the Ancient Pyramid. Similar to the volcano in Lava Land, entering the pyramid takes you into basically a whole new stage. The same rules apply here too. Once you're in until you get a game over or find the star. Because if you lose a life, you'll respawn inside the pyramid again. It's a giant room, mostly with paths around the outside. Basically, a player will have to continue to run around and find different ways to climb up the inside of the pyramid in order to make it towards a star. It's not much of a puzzle, but it is a challenge and will require cartwheels, triple jumps, and even quick timing to dodge obstacles that can and will make your life living hell. Or, just cause you to fall all the way down and have to restart the climb. This is actually a pretty intense challenge the first time, and it's super mysterious too, because it's such a large area and will really put your platforming and control of Mario to the test. Otherwise, you're going to spend a whole lot of time repeating most of the stage. Regardless, you should realistically be able to get through it despite the increase in difficulty, and it's a good challenge, I'd say. Plus, it's super rewarding when you make it to the top and nab the star. The next star is titled Stand Tall on the 4 Pillars. Obviously enough, those are the 4 brick pillars that were surrounding the pyramid. The problem is, in order to run up the pillar, you have to be able to pick up speed, and one of the pillars is conveniently placed in the middle of the quicksand, so you can't really run up there. Once you touch the top of all 4 pillars, a mysterious melody will play and the roof of the pyramid will come off, and there will be a new access point directly on top of the pyramid for you to enter, and you end up against one of the most unique boss fights in the game. I always called these stone hands, but apparently they're known as the Eye Rock. I'm pretty sure boss fights against giant hands were their own subgenre at one point. Either way, this is such a cool secret boss fight. The puzzle to move to the top of the pyramid, The strange mystic fists you're facing off against. I swear the first experience of this game is so absurdly unnatural, and I'm not sure if that's because I associate this game with the easiness to be wowed as a child, or if it was actually as surreal as I remember. I'm leaning towards the latter since so many people are always commenting on the strange mystery of Mario 64 and how it's apparently messed with people's memories or whatever. I don't know, Google it. When games are popular enough, people will talk about anything. But after you beat the fists, you get the star, and the next star in the stage is free flying for 8 red coins. Thankfully, all the coins are outside. The game even hints to you that the red cap will help you grab them, although it's not required to have the red cap for half of them. One of them is straight up behind you at the start of the stage, and you'll only figure that out if you're curious enough to move backwards when you first spawn. One of them is on the concrete platform near the beginning, another is on the maze over the quicksand, one is out by the back of the pyramid in the water, and the last 4, well, those are the ones that you need the wing cap for. Once again, this serves as a bit of a litmus test. If you want the star, you'll have to learn how to control Mario's unconventional flight patterns. And if you're willing to take the time to do so, it'll make more and more flight stars throughout the game easier to nab. Assuming, of course, you haven't already mastered the flight in other stages already, since once again this game is non-linear and everyone's experience and optimal routes taken will vary to large degrees. Regardless, this isn't the worst scavenger hunt for the 8 red coins, but it is one with a respectable difficulty and a good test of your ability to search and survive throughout the hazardous stage. The last star is Pyramid Puzzle. We can probably file this star with a select group of stars that more than likely will be the last 10 or 15 stars you need to get full completion, and one that you more than likely needed a guide or the help of a friend to figure out. It's such an obscurely titled star, and honestly, it's not even really a puzzle. At the very least, they could have called it Inside the Pyramid Puzzle so that you know it was inside the pyramid. I'm sure most people figured that out at least, but it could have been easily assumed to be outside the pyramid. But anyway, when you go inside the pyramid, you'll probably spend a whole lot of time searching everywhere, on every floor, and work your way up along the same path as you did earlier towards the star on the top. Only you'll be going much slower since you're searching everything. Right before you make it to the star, you'll notice a gap in the wall and the platform you're walking onto next to the sand pouring downwards. You also likely might not notice anything at all. Or you might be someone that luckily fell down. I'm not sure. But if you take a leap of faith off the wall or use your close quarters camera and peek below, you'll find a coin on the platform that might pique your interest. If you drop down, you'll see a counter that says 1. Peek again, you'll find another coin and it says 2. Keep following the flowing sand and peeking and you might grab the third one. One more drop onto a channel carrying sand, and if you're able to center yourself and balance, you'll be able to collect the 4th and 5th coin too, which will place a star along your path, so make sure you remain focused and grab it, lest you'll have to climb all the way back up again. I really like the challenge for the star actually, but I don't like its obscurity at all. And I think the fact that you have to go all the way back up where star 3 was to get it is extremely tasteless. That spot might literally be the last place any player searches, both inside and outside of the pyramid, and even then they might get there and miss it altogether. I think star 6 gets a strike against it for being kicked out of the stage, or rather, getting kicked out of the stage after grabbing star 3 might be the actual culprit here. Basically, only one of these pyramid stars should kick you out. Red coins, boss fight, star on top of the pyramid, and the talent of the bird star I don't mind too much because I think for all of those you're better off starting from the beginning of the stage so you can figure out how to get around the stage optimally to succeed. And also, after grabbing a star behind or on top of the pyramid, if I don't know where the next star is, I much rather start back at the beginning of the stage, otherwise I could easily die trying to get through the hazardous paths. I believe that puts us at 11 stars now after the 56 total in the game so far that are made worse because you're kicked out of the stage, while the remaining are either just the same or better, as they are, because it's easier or more beneficial to you to actually experience the different stages and their routes. Also, this is roughly the halfway point since we're through 8 stages out of the 15. 11 out of the 56 stars is like 1 in every 5 stars you'll have collected in the stages. Obviously, the coin star doesn't kick you out at all, and that's included in the 56, but 11 out of the 48 is still pretty close to 20%. For 6 out of the 8 stages, there's a maximum of 1 star that is made worse because you're kicked out after collecting the stars. And honestly, it's usually the last star in those stages, which you'll only really be going for if you're aiming for full completion, so most players won't even go through that. Jolly Roger Bay and Hazy Maze Cave alone holds 7 out of the 11 of those stars. So basically for the first 8 stages of the game, which is more than half of the stages, only 2 stages are actually that much worse off because of the mechanic that sends you back to the hub world. And even then, it's only half of those 2 stages. I'm assuming that number is going to increase as we move out of the basement and head upstairs in Peach's castle, but I just thought it was worth highlighting how blown out of proportion this whole thing is considering this is more than half of the entire game. And I guess since we're at the halfway point, I'll also remind everyone that I could agree that an optional text to go back to the hub world or starting point can be very beneficial. I'm not saying the way they implemented it in Mario 64 is the ideal. I'm just trying to shed a different light on the criticism that has become such a major talking point, despite the fact that it's hardly even that egregious of an aspect of the game when you're playing it for the first time. Since even if you time the 30 to 45 seconds tops it takes to collect the star, get kicked out, and jump back into the painting, the benefit of that being at the start of the course alone will more often than not save more time than those seconds. Agreed? I hope so, because I still have 7 more stages to go, so I'm hoping we're on the same page here. Anyway, I didn't discuss the coin collecting star. I could probably do a whole video on this alone. This is by far the absolute worst stage to collect 100 coins in, and that is primarily because there are so few coins to collect, and so many ways to die. Think of the enemies you have to defeat, the red coins you have to grab, the hazards you have to avoid to collect whatever you can, and the fact that you have to jump into the pyramid and make your way around there while trying to avoid all of the dozens of ways you could be forced to lose a life and start over. Like you can fall into quicksand and die. You can slip off the side of the pyramid and die. You can accidentally fly into a brick pillar and die. It's just so tedious and frustrating. I hate this star, with a passion. Stupid buzzards. This 100 coin collection star is so obnoxious that I'm inclined to not include my general caveat of the reward of collecting the coins being all the more worth it. This is basically one of those dumb difficulty spikes. Those retro game bottlenecks. So fine, when you do get the star, y'all probably jump up and scream with joy. I know I did. Heck, I still do, because it's still a pain in the mustache. So let's move on. This is a good stage with probably 2 really bad stars, and I'd be lying if I said I don't look forward to taking the stage on as a whole whenever I play the game. But now that it's complete, we've finished all the stages in the basement. Well, almost all of them, because next up is another one with an obscure entrance. Dire Docks.